The common belief in Zen is that there are two types of enlightenment. And in the path of self-actualization, which is just another word for enlightenment, there are two paths of self-actualization. So as we're kind of towards the spiritual inclination on these short videos, let's call the word enlightenment. So what is enlightenment? It's there's two parts. First part is knowing or understanding who you already are. The second part is a slow and gradual embodiment of the principles of that understanding in the mind, in the emotions, and in the physical body. So there's if you like, a path of what you call the ascending path of up and out of everyday consciousness, and then bringing heaven to earth, which is the descending path of bringing that understanding into the way that we live our lives, make our decisions, what we generally do, and how we interact with people in the world on an everyday basis. So what does this mean? So the reason I wanted to do this video is there's two schools of enlightenment, if you like. There's a traditional school, which is you're not yet enlightened, you're not yet realized. Sometimes this comes through also the Course in Miracles, where it says that we were thrown out of heaven basically, and we have to make our way back there. So that is one, that we're on a journey to enlightenment. And then you have the schools of what's called non-duality, but isn't necessarily non-duality in the traditional sense, which is the self-awareness practiced by people like Muji, which is I am that, therefore I'm already enlightened, there's nothing else to do and nothing else to become. So then in a holistic Vedantic view, both of these approaches are only one of the eyes, if you like, one of the understandings. One says that you're not enlightened, so you have to put in some effort to become enlightened. That means who I am now isn't it. And then the other school says, oh, you are that, so there's nothing else to do. So this, if we bring it back to the original teaching of self-actualization, so the original teachings of, say, some system like Zen is we have to embrace paradoxes, or it's useful to embrace paradoxes. So the first paradox is you are already divine. The second paradox is knowing that. There's a deepening process, an embodiment process of that understanding. If you like, what we could call the word enlightenment, to become of the light, or in the Christian teaching, it's called being born again of the light. In other words, being born again of that understanding of our true nature. There's a process. So it's useful to have two types of practice. First practice is the daily affirmation, I am that, as I am. In other words, I can appreciate that at the deepest part of my nature, I'm already what I'm looking for. I'm interdimensional, we could call it that. We could also say that I'm already within the frequency range of heaven. But then if we take the Zen teaching, they add on to that sentence that we're already enlightened, but in every moment we keep on moving away from it. So there's the path. The realization of our divinity, of our light, of our soulfulness, that we are a Buddha or the Buddha nature, but also there's a problem within that understanding, which is our earthly programming. That, okay, I'm not divine till I can walk on water, perform miracles, I'm always happy, always clear. So these are all dogmas that we have within the mind that hypnotize us back away from what we already are. So that's the work. The work is firstly, I am that. And secondly, how am I messing this up? You know, a lot of these schools in self-examination, there's this understanding that I am that. But also there's, if we look at it with a bit of common sense, when someone hears in one of those schools, I am that, there'll be no reason to go back to a teacher, to read another book, to do any type of self-examination, yet that still happens. So we have to embrace the paradox that we have work to do. And that work to do is literally how to remain as what we already are without getting lost into the belief of that we're not that up with this lost, disconnected, fearful, unhappy being. So this is the path, a path of awakening out of the dream that we're perpetuating, not just through the mind, because we think the mind is thinking. The mind is deeper than thinking. The mind is our feelings as well, our deep emotional states, which I call unconscious thinking, where we just have a feeling but maybe are not that aware of why the feeling is there. And those feelings are very powerful. So it's understanding how to heal ourselves from the mind, from the emotions, until we can arrive where we already are more consistently and hold that presence of light, beauty, and happiness.